It's 6:15. We want to take you back out to breaking news in the Pearl District this morning.
Fox News' Marilyn Deutsch joins us once again with a look at the protests outside what's believed to be the home of Portland Mayor Ted Wheeler. Marilyn, good morning.
Yeah, we actually moved a little bit. We're at 9th and Flanders, and you can see down the road some barricades there as well, and that is being cleaned up right now. You can see the police doing that, and some workers here already on the scene cleaning up, so it's pretty quick that they're getting this. With us here now is Lieutenant Tina Jones, and she's going to tell us what happened.
Good morning. So overnight, we had a group that started out as several hundred individuals in the area of the Pearl District. They were taking up an area of several blocks in an area that's also comprised of residences and businesses. They had blocked the streets, and right around midnight, we started to see a shift in activity where different items were being pulled in and barricades were being created throughout the different streets.
Were those items stolen?
Which was causing us concern. So some of the items were things that appeared to be being taken from the neighborhood, such as dumpsters, pallets, construction equipment, newspaper boxes, and things were being, piled up. Some tents were being pitched in the area. In the last 3 weeks, we've had a number of different demonstrations, specifically the ones downtown, that have resulted in arsons and dangerous fires that have required our fire and rescue responders to come down. So we had a lot of concern for life safety issues, not only, if there were plans to try to light things on fire close to residences and businesses, but also if there was a need for medical to have to respond, whether it's a police life safety issue or fire or a medic issue, especially given, some of these apartments and condominiums in the area. So, we continued to monitor the situation. At one point, we were able to see a subject in the group that appeared to be armed with a rifle, and also looked like that individual had a handgun also on their person. So that also increased the level of alarm with the barricading of the area, and then the armed person who was in the group.
Was he definitely armed, or she?
We saw a white male in a red and black checkered shirt who appeared to be armed with a rifle, and there was indications also that they were armed with what appeared to be a handgun. So obviously that sort of thing also makes us even more concerned about what the intentions are of the group, and then with all the items that we're seeing stockpiled. So this morning, we developed a plan to try to clear the area. An unlawful assembly was declared. We used our sound truck to notify the people in the area to provide them an opportunity to leave. We had seen the group that was several hundred individuals kind of dwindle down to about 50, some of them were coming and going. We also were notifying people not only by the sound truck but on social media and asking the residents to shelter in place. Thankfully, we were able to get our officers in after a period of warning, and they were able to safely clear the area. We only ended up with one arrest that I'm aware of, and I don't know the circumstances around that arrest at this point in time. But it appeared, from what I could see and from what I've been told, to be very peaceful as far as, the officers being able to get into the area. And, the majority of people who were down there ended up leaving. And so now we're in the process of determining, whether there are crimes that occurred. We're aware of graffiti. I don't know if there was other damage. Obviously, some of the other materials that got taken and kind of brought down here as well. So we're in the process of trying to document what happened down here as far as if there's any criminal activity, and then we'll do the cleanup as well.
And then, Lieutenant, I know that we can see kind of behind you that they're starting to clean up a lot of the stuff that's been barricaded. Can you kind of give us an idea of how long it's going to take to clean up this process, and when people who live in this area can safely come outside?
I know I can't give you an estimate. Our goal is to get it back up and running as soon as possible so people can go about their day. It's a lovely day outside, and we just want to provide, the residents down here and those who have businesses the opportunity to be able to go about their day. So we've been able to get some people in place to be able to do a swift cleanup.
Now, why did you not move in earlier? Why not, at 2 a.m. or midnight when they all started erecting these barricades?
So whenever we have situations like this, we're trying to assess what the situation is that we have in front of us, what the people are, what actions they're engaging in, and then what resources we have. And our goal every time is to prioritize life safety and try to do this in a very safe and methodical manner, which is what we did. We got our resources in place that we needed to try to safely, manage the situation that we had. And I think that overall we were able to see a very successful operation this morning.
Was the new chief involved in all of this?
So I actually have our deputy chief here, and he can probably speak more to that. I've been more engaged with our operations, so I can't speak for him.
Anything else that you want our viewers to know right now, as this is kind of a fluid situation within the next hour or so as you continue to work?
Yeah, I just want people to know that the area is safe. We are working to try and clear up the debris and, like I said, capture any sort of evidence if there was a crime. This has been a fluid situation overnight, and, we're just very pleased with the successful outcome this morning. There was an intent to create an autonomous zone in Portland, and that failed last night.
Were you ever going to let that happen?
I personally think that, the Police Bureau is looking at every situation that we're facing and trying to make the best decisions we have with the resources we have at the time. But, it's an autonomous zone was not established last night successfully, and the Police Bureau did a tremendous job of coming in with a very solid plan and creating safety for this neighborhood.
Thank you. And by the way, Air 12 is over. I guess you're probably seeing that now.
Yeah, Marilyn,
give you a bird's eye look. Yes?
I just want to let you know
Yes,
what
go
we're
ahead.
seeing from Air 12 this morning, and it is a shot of an intersection where one of those barricades is coming down. We see an overturned dumpster. We just saw part of a fence being moved away, and some other items down there on the ground.
Clearly, they're starting that cleanup, as you've been talking about, of the barricades the protesters set up in that rather large area there in the Pearl District.
Yeah, there's quite a hodgepodge of things in that area that made up the barricades. There was some fencing and some dumpsters, as you heard. It was just kind of anything. It actually kind of reminded me of the scene out of the French Revolution where, they barricaded using anything they could. So there was an artistic attempt there. But seriously, we had maybe 100 people occupying this area overnight, or maybe just 50. I think they said about 100 people marched here, but about 50 stayed. But again, when we walked around here earlier this morning, we really saw very few people. I'm not sure how many people actually, slept in the streets, because we saw a number of people just kind of walking in and out. It was a fairly free thing. So this did not have the occupation like we've seen before in Portland. Occupation at the two parks, actually near the Police Bureau, that took place. I think that was 2014 or 2013. And then, of course, the more recent occupation at the ICE building in Southwest Portland. That went on for about a month. I think in the end, 10 people were left and police cleared them out fairly quickly. But there was a lot more rowdiness to it than what we saw here. Of course, there was a lot of loudness last night here in the Pearl District. As we saw in the video, people marching and chanting concerning Black Lives Matter, and profanities yelled at Mayor Wheeler, who's also the police commissioner. Again, all this sparked by the vote yesterday by the city council that made $15 million in cuts to the Portland Police Bureau. Many of these protesters say that doesn't go nearly far enough. They may want to see the entire police bureau disbanded, or certainly a lot more defunding of the Portland Police Bureau. I think, are you still seeing Air 12 above, by the way? I'm hearing Air 12, so I think you're getting a look of...
We are.
Yes, okay. Yes, okay.
I'm
Go
sorry.
ahead, I'm sorry.
I had a producer speaking with me, and I missed what you said. But once again, as we look from Air 12 at this intersection, you can see officers standing in the center area right now, but this cleanup still continuing. We had pallets, we had newspaper boxes, dumpsters. We even saw large planters, presumably taken from some of the buildings nearby that had been used to block the roadway. Marilyn, Lieutenant Jones saying earlier that one person arrested earlier this morning. We did see an encounter at about 5:40 this morning, a woman who had approached an intersection where police were. We saw them exchanging words, and then we saw her in custody. We don't know if she was in fact the person arrested, but this is that video right here after that encounter with police that we are looking at on our screen now.
Marilyn, police had told everyone
Yeah,
that...
that happened.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was going to say...
That happened at 10th and Flanders. And now we are, by the way, on 9th looking at Gleason, and you can see the police are now barricading the road. So for now, you can't get by because of the police cars as they try to take down the barricades. We are only hearing of one arrest. I think you now have Air 12 video that you're looking at, Air 12 Live, actually.
We are, Marilyn. We're seeing trucks filled with some of that debris that the protesters had used to barricade the streets. You can see overhead from Air 12 just all those items that these crews are now cleaning up and putting into the back of trucks to haul away.
Yeah, and I'm kind of interested to know, we have a new police chief, Chief Lovell, what part he played in making the decision as how they were going to move in. They decided clearly not to let this go on for more than 5, 6, 7 hours. Again, we have seen occupations in Portland go for a month or two. This did not happen here. So they obviously made some decisions as to how to move in. And in the end, they may have been helped because there weren't that many people anymore left at 5:30 this morning in this occupied zone, because I think people were just coming and going. But they did say, you know, they told people to leave, and many of them did, and they certainly did give them warning. But again, interestingly, they did not give them, say, an hour of warning, which we have seen them do at times in the evenings in those protests at the Justice Center, where they are standing there in a line for hours and hours. And at some point, when maybe too many projectiles come at them, glass bottles and things like that, they decide enough is enough. This is a civil disturbance, an unlawful assembly. But they still give them a great number of warnings. This time it was several warnings, and then they moved in, but you know, it was pretty peaceable. And besides the rowdiness of this crowd last night, it was peaceable in the sense that, you know, we didn't see any violence. However, the police say that they did see a man armed with a handgun and a rifle, and that obviously caused a great deal of concern about what could happen here in this residential and commercial area of town. Again, lots of condominiums, lots of local businesses, lots of apartments here. So a lot of people in this area. It's a very dense area of town.